and welcome. My name is Andy Bond, and Steve Goad and I have been with you as we've been on the road and Hampton Roads interviewing entrepreneurs who have been influential in our region. One thing we've learned is that the legislature can have a significant impact on business. And so what we'd like to do is begin a new series, Getting Business Done in Hampton Roads, as we interview state legislators, our local legislators, to find out what they've been doing to help business thrive in Hampton Roads. And today we'll begin with Senator Frank Wagner. Senator, thank you very much.
Andy, great to be here.
Yeah, and this is your place, so Davis Boat Works?
Yes. Yep.
And that's your place?
That's my place, absolutely.
Steve did some good research, and he's come up with, in the Commonwealth of Virginia, 98% of the jobs are located in companies with less than 200 employees, and with 80% of the non-government economy in Hampton Roads generated by businesses with less than 100 employees. So it seems that the state legislature can have a tremendous impact on those small businesses.
Absolutely, and I'm pleased to say that I'm with a company that has slightly less than 100 employees. So you know, as I look at the legislature and look at the laws up there, obviously my experience in business that I bring with me every day working here in the yard carries forward in Richmond in terms of what do small businesses need, what can we do to make small businesses grow, all types of programs to move things forward within Hampton Roads. And so you know, a lot of time, I've spent an enormous amount of time on energy. We have an economy here in Hampton Roads that's based on defense spending, our port, and tourism. Those are the three big stools, or legs under the stool of our economy. I think, I believe the governor agrees, that we can add energy as that fourth stool under our economy. And I notice that when you look around the country where there are vibrant economies right now, and there are, in this recessionary environment, there are vibrant economies, and it's every place that oil and gas exploration is going on. And so take a lesson from that. We have some significant deposits off the eastern seaboard of the United States. Our port is ideally situated to support it, being right in the mid-Atlantic. No overhead heights restrictions, very deep channels. We have so much natural background and setting here to support both renewable energy as well as conventional oil and gas off our coast. And I think we're ideally situated, and we're doing everything we can to position that, because we believe that bringing the significant energy industry into Hampton Roads is going to help virtually every business in town, either if not directly, certainly indirectly, by increasing overall economic activity.
It's my understanding, in speaking about energy, that the Virginia Chamber of Commerce awarded you Leadership in Energy Award.
Yes, I was very pleased to be notified just a few days ago, along with an A+ ranking from them for overall votes up there, that I did receive their Leadership Award in Energy. And you know, it's an honor. It's something that I've been working on a long time. I think it's something, you know, long before anybody was talking about drilling, I was a lone voice in the woods, and people thought I was politically out of my mind. And I thought, you know, look, if it's that important and the right thing to do, then we need to move forward with it. And, you know, yesterday I was testifying in front of Department of Interior at a public hearing they held in Norfolk, and you know, one of the ladies from the opposition side, the environmentalist, said, you cannot drill your way into lower gas prices. Well, I would submit to you, yes you can, because we've seen natural gas prices going from $10 to $12 a thousand cubic feet down to less than $2 a thousand cubic feet, all because of increased drilling activity. And so everything that they come up with, you can't drill your way to lower prices. Yes, you can. This country has all the available natural resources within its borders to be totally energy independent. Yet, the government, the federal government, puts most of it off limits for access to. And it kind of drives you nuts, because the second largest source of funding to the federal government, second largest next to income taxes, is rents and royalties they derive from mineral production on federal lands. It seems to me you want to raise revenue, then you might want to open up some of these areas. And oh, by the way, you're going to put thousands, tens of thousands of Americans back to work in very high-paying, energy-related industry. And that balance of trade, that thing that we measure, if you spend more than you make, then you're going to go broke, and we are. And you look at where we spend our money, it's buying energy outside the borders of this country. So not only that, and it's to the tune of $300 or $400 billion a year. 300, 400, you can't get your head around that number, except for $800 billion was going to turn the economy around. That American Recovery Act was going to turn the economy around. $800 billion. Okay, so this is half of it. Okay, this is half. $400 billion we spend on energy. Imagine for a minute if that $400 billion was circulating in our own economy, producing American jobs and American energy for American industry and American homeowners. That is the solution in my mind, and that's why I push so hard on it. And certainly I want to see Hampton Roads garnish as much of that as we possibly can, because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do for this country. It's the right thing to do for our foreign policy, where we deploy our troops. Why do we deploy the troops in the Middle East? Gee, I wonder. You know, so many positives can come from that. Increased revenues to the federal government, tens of thousands of jobs created, and a much stronger economy, and it won't cost the taxpayers any money. In fact, the taxpayers will make money, and you know, I can't find anything fault with that. You know, having said that, energy is one aspect, but business is a complex enterprise, as those of us that know.
You that are in it.
Yeah, and you know, we cherish very much the fact that Virginia is the #1 state to do business in, related year after year after year by many magazines that rank state ratings, and we understand that we're #1. But kind of like the old Hertz rental commercial, Avis is #2, but they're trying harder. We realize other states are trying harder. They want to knock Virginia out of that #1 spot. So we need to do everything we possibly can here in Virginia to ensure that we maintain that #1 spot. And so there's a series of legislations that we go through. There's some tax incentives and those types of things. This year, one of the areas that it's a natural resource we have, we're not seeing the expansion that we hope to see within the port of Hampton Roads. So you start to compare yourself, what are we doing or what are other ports doing, where they're seeing 23, 24% increase in container traffic while we're seeing a 3%. Well, Georgia, Savannah's that port. So we go to Savannah and say, what are you doing? Well, they have an economic zone that for new businesses that locate in there can get tax credits or grants, if you will, to locate their businesses there. The sole criteria is it has to assist in moving more container traffic that otherwise would not have come to Georgia. Seems like if you can't beat them, join them, you know, and so I carried that legislation to move forward with. The House didn't like part of that language, and so we're working with the governor right now, because we're in that period now where we passed the budget, but the governor gets that last crack at the budget before we go back up on May 14th, and so I've been working with the governor, and we have some language we think will reinstate that program, and we can get rolling and give our port a powerful tool, I think, to help locate more business in our area and compete with Savannah and the other ports.
I read recently that 64's congestion is a problem with the port. Is that right?
Let me just tell you, transportation is a problem, period. Okay, and I worked very hard. This year I found myself on a Senate Finance Committee, and then I found myself chairing the Transportation Subcommittee of the Senate Finance Committee, which is where the money flows and the decisions are made. We've got some serious issues, and we have serious funding issues. And the problem really is quite simple. The last time we looked at gas taxes was 1987, and it was 17.5 cents a gallon. And it's remained at 17.5 cents a gallon since 1987. If you think about it, your sales taxes are automatically indexed to inflation. That gallon of milk doubles in price, your sales tax doubles. That chair you bought is more expensive than it was in 1987, your sales taxes went up. It's automatically indexed.
Just by virtue of the price increase.
Because it's a percentage of the purchase price, and so it is indexed. Not so with gasoline. It's 17.5 cents a gallon regardless. Yet everything associated with road construction, when you think about it, asphalt, paving, trucks, land acquisition, environmental regulation, all of these things are piled up to actually outpace the normal inflation rate for anything associated with road construction or road maintenance. So we have that problem. And then the second problem is, remember the car you drove in 1987 and the fuel mileage you got in 1987. And on average, cars are 30–35% more fuel efficient than they were in 1987. A very laudable goal, one I think we should pursue to the maximum extent. But recognize that assuming you drove that same 10,000 miles you did in 1987, you've gotten a real, and you're that average 30% more fuel efficient, you've gotten a real 30% tax cut. So not only are we not indexing to inflation, but we have no means to recognize as these cars get more fuel efficient, our revenues drop correspondingly. We're in a crisis standpoint right now. In the year 2017, we run out of any money for new construction. All the money will go for maintenance, and in 2018 we don't have enough to maintain our existing infrastructure. That's how serious the problem is. It's far more serious in the major metropolitan areas, Hampton Roads being one, and Northern Virginia has also a national #1 ranking, and it's one you don't want, worst congestion in the nation. So we have some serious problems. What are the fixes? Well, we've seen the toll and the fallout from the toll and the tolls on the tunnel and those kind of things, and so we're starting to look at that and go, that's the cost of these projects. And you know, the longer we wait, the more expensive these projects are going to get. We have to take a serious look at a long-term revenue stream for transportation that's going to be sustainable. Because now you start talking about natural gas cars and electric cars, not many yet, but more and more on the road all the time, pay zero taxes. They're on the road paying no taxes because the tax is purely tied to the gasoline at the pump.
So transportation will affect business. What other things can you affect, or can you say that you all did in the legislature to advance and help business thrive?
Well, I mean, obviously there's a number of attacks. You know, we always say people send us up there more to kill bad legislation than they do to pass good legislation. Okay, so you know, there are always those that would challenge Virginia's right to work status, and want to do away with that. So certainly we jealously guard that. We try to be very, very good stewards of the budget. You know, business taxes are one of those things that have to be paid, need to be paid. I certainly pay more than, you know, a significant amount of money to the city of Newport News every year. But it's necessary, but it's one of those things we should strive to keep to the minimum, because that's money that would otherwise be available to business to invest in growing their business and creating the jobs that you mentioned earlier when we started this talk. So we're very sensitive to that. We're very sensitive to incentives and giving the governor the money he needs in his economic development fund to attract businesses, not just new businesses here, but businesses that are already here that are looking to expand. And it helps provide some infrastructure support in that. And then obviously we looked at some of our areas. We're fortunate in Hampton Roads. We are feeling a little sting of the recession, but certainly nothing like Southside Virginia with 24–25% unemployment. So we need to be sensitive that we are a Commonwealth. That means that we help each other in this state, and we're trying to do everything we can to turn the situation down around the South Side. They just got double hit with textiles and furniture, and haven't really recovered since then. And so we're starting to see some results from some of our activities, but we're very, very encouraged to doing that. So, and the other thing is lay out a clear pattern. The stability of Virginia, the fact that we have a AAA bond rating means we can borrow. You know, you can come to Virginia and know it's solid, know that there's no desperate need to have to increase taxes like we've seen in Illinois and California and you know, other states, because they've just let their budgets get out of control. And so you know, we're very sensitive. How we manage our state budget has a lot to do with the requirements or the things we may have to put on our citizens, including our businesses, to afford government. We think we've done a pretty good job. We think we get accolades for our K through 12. We are consistently ranked our universities in the top 10 of private or public universities, and some, you know, top 10 of all universities. University of Virginia, Virginia Tech, William and Mary consistently ranked super high. So we think we've done a good K through 12. We're one of the safest states around. We think we do a pretty good job in public safety. I think our big fallback right now and our big problem, and it needs to be addressed because it's going to impact our economy down the road, is transportation. We have got to focus and put the resources into transportation to ensure that we have a transportation system second to none. I want our transportation system right up there with the #1 state to do business in, #1 state to raise a family, all the rest of the accolades of the #1 state to move around in, and I got to tell you, we're not that, and we got a lot of work to do.
So if people want to reach you and give you feedback or ask you questions, how can they do that, please?
No, absolutely. We're in the blue pages in the phone book, so you certainly call. You can go on the state's website and pick up my email address and certainly send me an email. My P.O. Box is 68008, Virginia Beach 23471, and you can write me a note. But we consistently try to maintain and be very accessible to the constituents I represent, and get out in public as much as I can to talk with folks and talk to them. I think, you know, we had the public hearing yesterday. You guys in my office today. I'll be in a high school tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning, and so, you know, I try to take some time, you know, every week to be able to either sit down with constituents or go to places where there's, you know, larger crowds to talk to, and you know, and I'm one of those that says, look, I don't have all the great ideas. I don't profess to have them. The citizens have them. And you've got to relay those ideas to me. You know, we're the ones that are supposed to implement those ideas on your behalf. And if we don't hear from you, we don't know. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator. Appreciate it.
All right.
And thank you for joining us as we've been listening to Getting Business Done in Hampton Roads.
Getting Business Done in Hampton Roads. Promotional consideration given by Technology Hampton Roads, the Technology Nerve Center of Southeastern Virginia, and Sign-A-Rama Chesapeake, where the world goes for signs, opening near you in May of 2012. A production of On the Road and Hampton Roads.